Okay, hi, and welcome to a different kind of video. So, I have been asked to review this book, a chess primer, The Matrix Unleashed by Charles August Smith, which is a beginner book of, I think, a total of 40 pages. And to give a balanced view, I have asked Kallia, my boss in Killer Chess Training, who is not a seasoned chess player, but you have played one tournament, to also read the book and say what you think. And you don't really want to do this video, so you can just say what you think, and then I will talk about the book as a professional afterwards.
Okay. So this book, the first thing that I realized is that for a beginner, which is usually smaller, young kids also, that the letters are too small, and that's a problem for younger audiences.
The font is very small.
So I would personally like it to be a little bit bigger so that everyone can read it a little bit better. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm the exception, I think.
Yeah, well, it was very small for me. I'm also a bit older, so.
So I thought it was very interesting teaching the matrix, but in the essence of you don't, it's an easy way to teach a kind of an opening to someone, to how to start the game, to have a small plan. That was interesting. What I thought was a bit weird is that you don't, the author starts talking about the pawns, but then the chapter about the pawns and what you want to do with the pawns in the end is on a different chapter. And that was a bit weird to me. Also the fact that we don't start with the king. Like, what's the purpose of the game? To protect our king and to win the game. So if you don't start with mentioning your most important piece, to me personally it sounded weird. But generally I enjoyed reading the book and refreshing a few stuff, and I do think that the Matrix, the way he described it, is very interesting, and that's it.
Okay, thank you for participating.
Thank you.
You want to leave, and you can.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just see if I can put the camera right here on me. Yeah, so I share a lot of the opinions Kallia had. The font is, I will try to put it close here. It probably looks okay here on the screen, but it is very small. It's like size 6 or 5. The diagrams are also quite small. If any of you are familiar with quality chess books, then the diagrams here are considerably smaller than our analysis diagrams. The book itself is also, just to give a size comparison here, is not huge. Now, quality chess books are 170 times 240, so you can see this book is a bit smaller. None of this bothers me. The font is too small to read. He chooses to use letters rather than figurines. This is, I think, a fair choice. But where I'm sort of, we have some things that are debatable, and then we have some things I think are not so debatable. First of all, I want to say thank you to Mr. Smith, who got a bit of a kicking in the chessbook collectors for posting the reviews he had on Amazon for the book, and people were accusing him of being fake, and he really took it in good stride. The guy is trying to do something for chess. He's trying to popularize chess, and he has some ideas and opinions about chess, and I think coming out and defending them and in front of grandmasters and seasoned professionals and trying to do your thing, I think it's very admirable. And I think he should walk away with this with his pride intact. I really think that trying to do something and maybe not doing it the best possible way is better than not trying to do something. And he has really been very, very civil and and honest and decent about the whole thing. About the book itself, so there's some things that are debatable, some things that are not so debatable. The first thing is he claims that all other beginner books were rubbish and boring, and this is sort of a normal spiel, and I don't even take objection to it anymore. I'd rather discuss his idea, which is a debatable idea, which is that starting with teaching chess with very few pieces on the board, and then, building on from that, and then later getting to a situation where we have all the pieces on the board, which is the traditional method, and it's a way of building things into building blocks. His argument is that in his many years of teaching beginners, he has found that they lose interest. It's not really my experience. It's not the experience of other coaches I know who work with beginners. But this is debatable. He does, as Kallia say, he does start with presenting chess as if you can take the king and various aspects of that, and I think this is quite a classical way of teaching chess. That checkmate is actually quite an advanced concept, and we put this in later in the process, and I think that's fairly uncontroversial. But as you could hear, for someone who is not familiar with these books, it was something that we were wondering about. So his method of teaching, and he's very, very clear of explaining during the book that the matrix system with Queen H5 is not actually sound. Now there was some points, like he explains how here the rook is hanging, and he explains uses this example here to explain what checkmate is. And I think this is follows very fairly and consistently from his main argument that kids want to start in the starting position, and they want to get going, they want to play, they don't want to be taught to play first. And okay, it's an argument. But sort of where I take a little objection with his method is when he goes to this variation, here and here. He stops here where we're still attacking f7. Now, I remember this from when I was 12. I started playing just before I turned 12, and I started reading chess books when I was 12. I started playing a club just before 12. Like, I was there once, and then I turned 12. And I remember reading in a book back in, I don't know, 1986 or something here, what black should play. Black should play d5 and then take, and then comes knight d4, attacking the queen and attacking the c3, the c2 square, and like knight takes check would be horrible, and then the queen goes here and the bishop comes in, and here we're still attacking, now attacking twice, only defended once, here attacking the c2 square, and this leads to my apologies, big fat thumbs. This leads to d3, which is blocking the bishop, and then black has this very nice tactic, bishop b4, which pins the queen and the king. Of course, the bishop is not defended, so the critical move is queen takes bishop, and then knight takes and check, and here, and wins the queen and will win the game. And he sort of doesn't include this, and I felt that was stopping here in one of the sort of very instructive beginner examples was a little bit flawed. Let's say it like this. Now, I'm not sure I agree with his argument, but I think things that are debatable should be debated, and I'm happy to just sit on the fence on this. About how we should teach beginners. There are some things about the book I didn't like, and I think this feedback is probably also good for Mr. Smith himself for future editions. So the first thing is that he is mentioning that his training method is fantastic, very successful, and so on, and he has students who went on to win state and national champions and even won international events. And he doesn't mention any names. Now it's easy for me to say, oh, I have beaten world champions, which or beaten actually world champions, which is technically correct. In a blitz game, I once beat Si Yun. It was one out of many, and she beat me many times. But I once beat Si Yun in a blitz game, so that is correct. Also, I won against Almira Shevchenko at the time when I think she was under 14 world champion. Since she was a much stronger player and we made a draw, but I have beaten world champions. I think without mentioning names, there's a problem. Basically, you're making claims to success where nobody trusts it and nobody believes it. Even if it's true, it might be okay. You might say, okay, it was not as glorious as it sounded. So that's the first thing. But that's a minor thing. If people you've helped don't want it known that you've helped them, as a coach, I think you should just keep it to private conversation, keep it out of your printed works. But much more important about the book is the order of which it brings out information. It is basically, as far as I can see it, it's the moment that the author thought about it. So he's writing about one topic, let's say as we're talking about pawns, and then he sort of forgets about pawns and then comes back with them to them and mentions something again, and then he mentions something that's sort of important later, but not now. And the lack of structure is the predominant feature of the book. There's some technical mistakes. The bolding of moves and annotations is quite random. Some of the diagrams are not doing very well. As an example, I think you sort of could get the idea if I do a position like this, which is illegal, by the way, because it's not even possible to have queened a pawn and get an extra queen. It was a different position, but there were two queens, and there are some other minor mistakes, and it just feels overall like the book is it's quite shoddy. It hasn't been read through and checked whether or not this is the best place to put things. The diagrams haven't been checked by someone qualified to see if this is the actual position or not. They're not done as most chess professionals would do, which is export them from ChessBase and then put them in, but they're sort of constructed one by one, it seems like, which creates problems. Even when I construct diagrams, which I sometimes have to do for quality chess books, there's a real chance of mistakes. As in, if you see a mistake in a diagram in a quality chess book, I made it when I constructed a diagram and I shouldn't have. But sometimes you just can't believe you'll make that mistake. But you do. And everyone does it. Absolutely everyone. So overall, I think good on Mr. Smith, Charles, to write a book, explain his views, put them out there for debate. And I think that's an admirable thing. The actual book, I didn't like it very much. But if it was well structured and if it had been proofread properly, I would disagree with it without disliking it. And for, let's say, an updated version, I think that is important. And I also think for Mr. Smith to have the patience, first of all, sending me the book, which is putting your head into the jaw of the lion, and sort of push me. Come on, when is the review coming? When is the review coming? I want to know. I thought that all through this process here, I'm very sorry to have taken the time. I was busy. But all through this process, I think he has earned my respect. And there have been times when I have liked books in the past where the author did not earn my respect, and I think we should count that as a win. And I think to avoid making this too long, I'm going to stop right here. Thank you very much for watching this to the end, if you did. And if you're a player or beyond beginner, but have some experience with tournament play, or even you're a quite strong player, a master, an international master, or a grandmaster even, I think you'll find that Kill Chess training is a really, really great place for people who want to improve their chess, and we would love to have you there. See you around. Thank you, guys.